No agenda, no bull crap, just real conversations. Thank you for joining us for the Middle of the Street podcast.
Quick, we have some tariff things happening. Monday, what, 3,000 points up on?
Yeah, I mean, the Dow
of
jumped. They got some stuff, at least conversations going with China. They got some other things settled, doing some other investment from Saudi into the U.S. and Qatar's doing some stuff, although they also offered the United States Defense Department, not Donald Trump himself, the Defense Department would actually get this $400 million jet that they can't use as Air Force One because of all the security things and that. But it'd be kind of cool if they take it, and even if they sell it and use that money to fund, Trump Library or whatever.
Sure.
Because that would be way better than it coming from other sources. But, we'll see.
One
side saying that this is just plain and simple, they're buying him, and the other side saying it's legal. It's the presidents and vice presidents are exempt from some of those types of gifts.
Sure.
And because they don't really go directly to them, all of them.
Sure.
This would go to the Defense Department. So
a deal is a deal.
Yeah, and so the stock market positive gains, and it would appear as though Trump's tactics thus far are doing the right things. Inflation's at a 4-year low. Interest rates, I would hope, would follow, although it seems like Mr. Powell is pretty stunned or pretty worried about the tariff things. Now that they're rolling forward, maybe they will cut interest rates, because if we can cut interest rates, that'll really help the economy really get back on pace. Pre-COVID.
Yeah.
The current budget they're working with is basically taking spending back to pre-COVID levels. So, as they're talking about what they're cutting out of Medicare, Medicaid, that's just all the fraud stuff and the people that shouldn't have been on there. I mean, when you look at all of the illegal immigrants that were getting benefits because of Biden's administration allowing it or supporting it or however you want to say it.
Yeah.
You take that out. I mean, that's a big cut out of Medicaid. But they shouldn't have been getting it. We shouldn't have been paying it. So we just stopped paying it. It's not really cutting, grandpa and grandma's Medicare.
Sure.
The people that really need Medicare, Medicaid, it's not cutting theirs, but it's cutting the total budget of that area. I think that's just getting rid of some waste. I'm okay with that. So all indicators are that the economy is really snapping back.
Sure. So all indicators for you is that the economy is getting back. And I think we were talking about something before here when we were saying that it just seems like no matter what, right? I think we talked about how when everybody was up in arms about the tariff thing and things were unstable for a while, they were. And you kind of had to know common sense wise that we are America, the biggest market here still. We still run the world when it comes to what is popular, what happens economically around the world still follows America's trends. And, we still make the cool, right? You can go around anywhere in the world and they imitate American culture, and they're imitating American culture. And I'll take it even a step further, right? To be honest and to keep it real, you go around anywhere in the world and really they're imitating what we call quote unquote black culture, right? Whether that's the pop culture thing from way back when it's Michael Jackson and everybody's dressing like him, to even now there's segments in Japan where people literally dress like 1990s West Coast gangster rappers.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird thing. And they even do something with their hair to where they try to make it like super extra coarse or curly. Then, you go around all around the world, whether it's China even, and still our American culture builds the trends of what they're trying to do when it comes to a lot of consumerism, right? A lot of consumerism. Whatever Americans like, the rest of the world seems to like and hop onto. So what I mean to say by that is we run the world economically still. And so you would think to yourself, common sense, that no matter what's coming with these tariffs and things, at some point people are going to have to play ball with however our leader wants to play ball, because we have most of the chips.
Yes, I mean, I definitely agree with that, and I think it's it goes a little deeper than that in that we're kind of the envy of the world in a lot of things. You know,
True.
we're a consumer-driven economy that was extremely built on labor, manufacturing, infrastructure, and then we've slid away from that and kind of became this service industry. And we got away from a lot of the manufacturing stuff that caused a bunch of our young folks to go crazy in debt for college. But it's still, you know, I think by and large, I think America is still a great economy that everybody in the world wishes they had.
Yeah.
I think our freedoms are something that is the envy of the world. You know, I think parts of, you know, where people will scream and holler about, well, why don't we have, you know, free healthcare for all, like some other countries. And those other countries are a lot smaller physically, and they have less population. They have very little immigration, and they tax their citizens really, really high. And I think we overtax our people already.
They also don't have the military budget per capita that we have also.
We have been the world's police since World War II.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. What about World War One?
You know, that wasn't really the industrial age that launched. World War II really launched us. World War I, we learn a lot, I think, but World War II is what really launched us into a true industrial age, military complex manufacturing.
Whereas more the business of war?
Well, business of war, business of making war machine, you know, bombs and guns and some of that's our culture.
Just the manufacturing of war.
Oh yeah. I mean, the United States is still the number one producer of munitions and war type equipment.
Like Lockheed Martin and U.S. with U.S. Corp and
well, you know, there's just
is Halliburton making weapons.
I'm sure they're investing in, you know, but you know, you got the General Dynamics, you know, make subs and missiles and.
Does Kawasaki make any of our military stuff?
I don't believe so. I'm sure they do for Japan. You know, Kawasaki. Everybody thinks about Kawasaki being motorcycles and UTVs and
trains.
Jet skis. They do trains. They do heavy equipment. I mean, they do big.
They do
heavy
American
equipment.
subway trains.
Correct. Yeah, in Lincoln.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So they don't do but that's a Japanese company.
Mm-hmm.
Functioning in America?
Oh, absolutely.
Does it have American owners?
No, it's all on the Nikkei.
Wow.
American leadership in the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, they started, you know, Kawasaki Motors in Lincoln. It must have been like in 75, 6, something like that. That's when they started, and they opened up in Lincoln.
Was that just smart for them? Because like, hey, let's just get this hub in the middle of the country that we can ship out to.
Well, I think there was probably a lot of reasons for that. Yeah, I mean, we've got good railroad. We can ship stuff all over.
Wow.
Reasonable cost of labor.
Yeah.
Highly technical people still. You know, committed, you know, Midwest work
Midwest
ethic.
values that come to work. Well, I mean, people make their whole career and life off of Kawasaki.
Oh, yeah.
They go there, they get on with the company. Kawasaki has a program where they help buy them a home. It's like you get a home from the Kawasaki bank or something.
They will do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, they do good for their employees. They do good for them, I guess. But we used to call it Sakakawi. Sakakawi. Well, yeah. But so I kind of thought the whole time that, you know, the rest of the world is going to have to just play ball how we want them to, and that we're going to come out on top when it comes to a tariff war. But again, I just want to go back to, it seemed like when, and you can pull up the clips, right, of when, for example, Obama would say, hey, we need to be tough on the rest of the world. We need these tariffs so we're competitive. We need to look and make sure we're competitive and roll out things. And it's okay. But not only that, but then I looked at some of the response from the other side, the Republicans at the time. We're saying he's irresponsible. He's going back on trade deals we've had for decades. He's going to collapse the economy because China does so much manufacturing. This is the dumbest move ever. Is he even American? Right? Now, Trump says we're going to be hard on China. We're going to be hard on tariffs. We're going to make this fair. America has to get a better deal. And then all the Republicans are like, that's what I'm talking about. That's our guy. Thank you, finally. Then all the Democrats are saying, this is stupid. He's a fascist. This is Hitler. See, this is how Hitler started. He was taking he was making sure all the other countries couldn't do anything, and he was trying to be superior to just his nation. And
it's politics.
And I'm like, what just happened?
Well,
like, what just happened?
The interesting thing, and it goes back, we've had these trade war things off and on, kind of really got ramped up a lot in the Carter administration.
Okay.
And yeah, we are so polarized politically that it's ridiculous. Because somebody's political affiliation, Republican, Democrat, Independent, blah, 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 you can't like them because you're on the other side of that. And that's just crazy. No matter if we're doing what's best for the country, that's all I care about. Now, I will say that my alignment in my personal thinking is Republican. Mm-hmm. I like smaller government. I like less taxes. I do agree that we have to take care of the needy, or the poor and those that need to be taken care of. But I think we also have to have them taking care of themselves some. Mm-hmm. Under Obama, we grew Medicaid a tremendous amount through the disabilities. And, there's been people now for 20 years not working, able-bodied, but they got a disability thing, and so they just have sat at home and collected disability. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think most of those people are capable of doing something. They may not be capable of going out and digging a ditch, but they're capable of doing something that would be productive, and we need to probably not just allow, but we need them to do that and be productive and not just be a drain on the system, but help with the system. Mm-hmm. I'm okay. If somebody's disabled, they're disabled. I have a friend who was paralyzed, dove into a pool, broke his neck. He's been paralyzed. Didn't work for the first couple years. Actually, then had to retire from the police department. Uh-huh. He's been working at LPS doing different things in his wheelchair, helping kids. Uh-huh. So you don't just have to be, and he's pretty disabled.
Sure. Sure. No, definitely. I understand.
So, I kind of get that. And that's kind of part of these cuts they're talking about too, is, that you have to work to be able to get some of these benefits, or we were going to reduce your benefits.
Sure. Sure. See, I think that, for example, when I used to call myself a Democrat, the problem is that the morals and the things that I really believed in, that I was thinking that the Democrats may actually be adhering to or trying to put action to once they were in power, just wasn't true, right? So, for example, if I said, well, I think that I'm a Democrat because I care so much about children, and the Democrats are going to do great for children and give educational options and help them be supportive. Well, the Democrats get in power and they just continue to poison children. They continue to have policies that don't have free college. They didn't do anything. It was to stop a debt from college and from that scam. But I was thinking that I was aligning with them because they aligned with what I believed, when really they're just aligning with whatever they wanted to win, to get power, to do something. So then I was trying to be a Republican, and I said, well, maybe they align with things. So let's say like smaller government. But I've never seen a Republican administration that's ever cut the budget for the military, that's ever cut the budget for expenditures when it comes to what we spend on the big guys in government that get the big cuts, excuse me, not government, but in business, they get big cuts because we say it profits the economy, or to their colleagues, right, in Congress or things that are allowed to insider trade or still abuse the system. And so I realized that neither one of the people I'm giving my alliance to actually are doing the things that I morally think that it is. So then it goes back to like the lesser of two evils. And people are saying, well, I want a little progress or I want a little better, right? But then if you're not a part of the process, then what? Then your even better isn't picked, right? So right now you're at a point where it's like, okay, well, the Republicans for you give you that, that groundwork of better. Right?
Well, the alignment with my thought processes of things that are important to me. And I have to say, this is the second Republican president in my lifetime that has been after smaller government, reducing government waste. Reagan and Trump, those have been the only two that have really taken an aggressive approach of getting rid of government waste, shrinking it, which is near impossible task, and cutting taxes.
Well, didn't you show us that we were looking at some type of scale before? If I'm not mistaken, no one cut the government when it comes to spending and our debt from what we spend to what we move out until the 90s.
Well, our debt,
so Reagan it went up, Trump it went way up. So again, in theory, it's like they say we're for small government. We want to cut things. That's what I'm spouting out to people. But in practice, it didn't happen.
Well, so in probably the biggest thing that we saw from Reagan was Clinton became a huge, I don't want to say, great recipient of Reagan policies. And that's when then you really saw our debt come down a little bit under Bill Clinton.
But did it go Reagan, Carter, Bush, Clinton?
No.
I know Bush
So
one was
Carter,
before.
79. Okay. Carter,
Then
Reagan,
then Bush.
Bush, Senior.
Mm-hmm. Then Clinton.
Then Clinton.
Then Bush.
Then Bush Jr. And then Obama.
Then Obama. Then Trump. Then Biden. Then Trump.
Yep.
But we still went. So you're saying went from, you're like, hey, Reagan did great.
Well, Reagan,
and then Bush sustained it.
Reagan set things up really, really well.
And then Bush sustains it, and now Clinton
kind of did, and then he had to raise taxes, and that's why he was a one-term guy.
So I guess what I would, from things that I'd seen policy-wise, it seemed like, what was the difference between between Clinton and Reagan and Bush, other than a accent and a smoother walk?
Reagan actually did some things to stimulate the economy and to lower some taxes. If we had the same tax rates today that we had then, our country would be in deep shit.
Mm.
Our percent of GDP to debt did not. I mean, it peaked really. Thus far, it peaked under under Biden, like 125%. Now, I think debt to GDP, if it's somewhere around 50%, that'd be pretty reasonable. But we're at 125% today, so we're at an unsustainable growth. Now, what drives me crazy is every year the revenue line has continued to go up. We had a little bit of a blip where it flatlined, maybe went down a little bit the first COVID years. But since then, the revenue line that the federal government has taken in has continued to go up. But it's went up like this, and our debts went up like this because we did some really crazy things during the whole COVID piece, and we continue to support and continue to keep those things. And that's probably my biggest frustration with the government is once they start a program, they just fund it for life.
Let it keep going. So I know Bill Clinton's big claim to fame. He always says, and he'll say over and over again, I'm the only president in forever to actually balance the budget, right? And I know a lot of people, it kind of seems like, Obama says, oh, my economy's bad because I inherited it so bad from Bush. And, Bush will say, oh, it was bad because on the way of Clinton going out, they were doing crazy things. That's why mine's so bad. It always seems like, it's always the people blaming the last administration. But I still haven't seen any administration say we're going to close bases, cut down military spending, and stop putting, it used to be way more than half the budget. Look like it's half the budget now. And stop putting half the budget. COVID probably messed that all up.
It's actually our interest on our debt is the same amount as our military.
The interest on the debt now is crazy. Goodness
it's the same amount as what we spend in the military.
That's a big difference.
Oh, it's
because
huge.
The interest keeps going up. The more you spend, the more it keeps piling.
Yeah, when you're out spending $2 trillion more each year than what you take in.
Yeah.
And we've done that since COVID.
Well, we got to stop.
We got to stop that. I mean, we this is unsustainable.
Got to stop. And I think a lot of times the way to stop, like in your household or something, you got to just, cut off one of the cards. Make it funnel through just one thing. That's what Doge try to do, right? Let's kind of cut off one of the cards, and let's try to funnel everything through one thing to see what we're doing. Let's see what's reoccurring subscription. Let's see what's out there.
Yeah, I mean, the
just
Doge.
Like I said, we have a program, and we just keep letting it go.
Well, the Doge thing was amazing to me that they found out in the Treasury, and I think it was the Treasury Secretary that brought it up, that like $5 trillion a year was being spent that wasn't tagged to anything. So in a business, you basically tie things to a general ledger.
Yeah, of course.
So you know where it's really going.
Yeah.
But $5 trillion was just kind of going into holes. Yeah, it wasn't coded at all.
It's coded like really specific. Like it's this part and it's for maintenance and it's for general repairs and it's in our Lowe's fund.
Yeah.
Because you only buy things for general repairs from Lowe's. Like,
yeah.
It gets real serious when you're a real business.
And $5 trillion was going through without being coded.
Well, one of the things that's happened is that at the end of the day, let's keep it real, America is a business. Now, we have a credit score. We have a world credit score. We have social security numbers that ties us something of a credit score. And everybody is basically capital. Each person, because it's like a workforce, what we can produce and what the GDP can be. So we are a business, but the problem is that before Mr. Trump, there has been no businessmen actually running the business of the country, right?
Correct.
Whether right or wrong, whether you think it's a business or not, or shouldn't be a business or not, I guess you have to look at the reality of the fact that it is a business. And if you have a business, wouldn't you want a real businessman? Now, some people would look at this and say, oh, Trump's horrible because he's bankrupt. So many businesses are done. But then a lot of people don't understand business.
Yeah.
Because bankruptcy doesn't mean failure. Bankruptcy means I don't have to pay you.
Well, it means I'm going to restructure the debt.
There you go.
It's, Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha.
Yeah.
He had some huge losers. Dexter shoes. Buys Dexter shoes, and then China can make shoes for like 10 cents on the dollar.
Did that company go bankrupt?
Yep, they're Gandhi.
Oh, man.
I think he just folded them up.
But he didn't file chapters,
No.
whatever. No. He just took the loss and bounced.
Yeah, just took the loss into the portfolio.
Trump don't like taking losses.
Well, that's not true. He takes losses in business to offset other income. I mean, so there's
sure.
So that's kind of the tax game. But
sure,
that's a whole nother.
No, well, this guy. But what I'm saying is, now you have a businessman that is actually in charge of the business. So, and I mean, I want to say that's if you're just picking on, when it comes to running a business, you want to just pick the best business person. Well, of course, there's different components to different things, right? That being said, for example, if you just pick the best businessman, it doesn't mean that they're most empathetic. So maybe they see a woman who gets 6 months pregnant and like, oh, she's going to lose productivity. She's going to I live in a right to work state or whatnot. And so I'm just going to fire that person, right? Maybe that's the best business, but it isn't the best character for, a family business.
Well, it's illegal.
Well, you know how it is. People get around those type of things. And when it really comes, you don't have to give your reason. You can just fire the person for whatever you say it is that, that you want to fire them for. Now, again, I'm just saying you could look at it and say, I want the best business person. But is that really what you want? Or do you really want the best person?
I think Trump this
Not
go
saying
around.
we've ever had the best person.
I think Trump this time around was much better at selecting the cabinet folks instead of people saying, hey, you should put this person in this spot. You should put this person in this spot. He didn't
select the swamp this time.
He picked specific people that would get the job done that he wanted done.
Sure.
Which is really what we elected him on, was the job that he said he was going to do.
Sure.
And it helped him a lot that Joe Biden was suffering, mentally and physically, which I feel sorry for Joe Biden. He got old.
I'll be honest, Pops. I don't think Joe was suffering as much as they said and the media made it out to be, and we made it out to be. You know why? I'm going to say it again. I don't think he did as bad as everybody thought in that debate.
Well,
the brother lost his train of thought once at the beginning. I lose my train of thought 10 to 20 times a day, okay? And if you you can call me whatever you want, but I'm just saying, I'm not mentally, challenged. But what I'm saying is, I don't think that, I really think that he just gets caught. I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think he's that damn bright to start with, right? I think he's pretty awkward to start with. I think he's always spoke awkward. I've always been against 95% of what he says, stands for, and believes, and what he tries to legislate. So to me, when I see him talk, it's been the same since I've seen tapes in the 90s.
Yeah, but now there's a lot of books coming. There's people putting books about his mental and physical acuity during the last part of his presidency. And I think that's hard. He was
sells books.
He was an aging guy too. Absolutely, it sells books.
Yeah.
He was an aging guy.
How old is he? 80-some?
80-some years old.
Again, I'm not there, so I'm sure he has some wear and tear of an 80-year-old. But man, I'm just saying, his debate performance, what was that, 2 hours of standing up there?
90 minutes, I think, hour and a half.
Okay, 90 minutes up there debating against Trump. Okay, let me tell you again. The only people I think can really win an all-out debate with Trump would be somebody in like the Nation of Islam, right? It has to be someone that knows their facts, can't be bullied, and speaks with a fluency where it's a rhythm. No uhs, no stammers. Just get it in. So, like he'd have no chance against like the, Minister Farrakhan or something. But anybody else like a layman, right? Trump is taken to town. So just the fact that Biden could stand up there and put up a defense, right? He did. He put up a defense, and sometimes I felt like he was able to articulate what his America looked like better than Trump's. Not saying I liked Biden's America, what he was saying it was, but I felt like he was able to say it sometimes better. But that's all I'm saying. I just don't think that he's, in such a stupor of not knowing where he is type thing. I think that kind of takes the responsibility off of him for the ills that he did as president, right? For the wrong steps, the miscalculations, the unneeded deaths, all of those bad things. I think, it's a good way to give him an excuse or a cop-out.
Yeah, I guess I didn't look at it as that way as much as somebody else was making a lot of decisions in the last, 6 to 18 months of his presidency, just by the amount of auto pins that were used to sign things, documents that he wasn't signing.
I've heard stories where people say that he's told them personally he never saw something that he signed.
Yeah.
I wonder if that happens a lot.
So,
if I'm president, I want to see everything. But
yeah,
then again, I'm kind of
the auto pin really, I think, started actually. I think it was in Obama's term when he was traveling, and they approved that auto pin could be used for his signature because he was like in Hawaii.
Got a lot of shit to
sign. And something had to happen, like right now.
Got a lot of shit to sign.
And it sounded like they had a procedure in place, and maybe now they don't follow that procedure.
Is it all like online? It's all online based?
Well, I think there's some authorizations that were supposed to happen because that, they acknowledged that they read it, but, was he actually reading that email or that text, or was somebody else doing it? So,
No, I mean, I guess, and again, I know this sells interviews, it sells books, but I definitely have heard I've not heard personally, but I've seen interviews where people say that they were talking to Biden about something of why he did this, and he says what he's talking about, and he says, here, look, you signed this, and he says, I never seen this.
Yeah.
Again, that's a story. It sells books, it sells headlines, so I don't know if that's true, but I wouldn't put it past Crime Bill Joe. I would not put it past Crime Bill Joe. Corn Pop. What about another Corn Pop story? I don't think people know what I'm talking about when I say the Corn Pop story. Do you know what I'm talking about? Corn Pop story? Oh my gosh. YouTube this shit. Joe Biden is at some event and he's talking about, it's twice. He's at this event and he's talking about Corn Pop, this like black guy he used to know back in the day when he used to be wherever he was. And Corn Pop was a rough dude, a real tough dude. And Corn Pop had like a knife. And he just tell this story that was going nowhere. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? And then he was like, and the kids, they used to come up to my leg. And how when you're in the pool and the hairs go out. He just tells these weird ass stories, right? Stories. But one of them was on Corn Pop. Go look up Corn Pop and be amused by
I'll have to do that.
Mr. Joe Biden. Yeah, he's a weird dude.
And I want to change gears a little bit. You sent me a screenshot this morning.
So let's talk about this.
It says, as a white man, let me say this.
This guy.
And let me say this. Rodney Hinton didn't lose control. He finally took some back. So there's this story that Ish sent me, and I've done a little bit of research on.
That hit hard.
There was a father, Rodney Hinton, Ohio dad, that ran over and killed a deputy that was doing traffic. And the first article I pulled up is kind of the one I'll talk about here. But
he ran him over.
He ran him over, killed him. Guy died later.
With a car.
And now has a civil lawsuit seeking, a federal civil lawsuit seeking $25 million.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Who has a lawsuit on whom?
The father.
Rodney Hinton?
Rodney Hinton.
Has a lawsuit on the police department or the man he killed?
Rodney Hinton, the Ohio father who is charged with fatally striking a deputy with his car after his son was killed in a police shooting, filed a federal civil lawsuit seeking $25 million.
Okay.
So the father had
so he's obviously probably suing the county or suing the police department.
So
all right.
So
one more question really quick about this initially. The deputy that he struck and killed, allegedly, is that the deputy that allegedly killed his son?
This was a retired guy that was just kind of back
a regular guy.
Just back doing something. So as this happens, Ishma sent me this, and I didn't know anything about it. Rodney Hinton's son was shot and killed by a police officer. It sounds like he was with three other guys that have had some incidents, some gun charges, some other stuff. Stole a car or attempted to steal a car, and long story short, Eric Rand got shot and killed by the police.
Which is the son to Rodney Hinton.
Correct.
Okay.
That was actually a Belize number calling me.
Oh, Belize is trying to talk to us. We about to see what's up with Belize. Shout out to Shine.
So, kind of a crazy deal. I saw YouTube where I think maybe it was his brother that was talking about he felt really bad because he'd tried calling him to let him in the house, and he was locked out, and he shouldn't have been out there with other guys. And so he was apologizing for it. I mean, just kind of a tragedy by itself. I mean, young 18-year-old gentleman gets shot. His dad sees the body camera footage from the police department on like Friday, very distraught about it. They take him and give him a ride. The other people that were there with him, goes back and gets his truck, and then runs over this other cop and kills him.
A cop not connected to the killing.
Not connected,
Okay.
but he was just angry. I mean,
Cop. So let me try to summarize from what I'm hearing, because I haven't done any research on this.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. I know Pops to do some research on it though, and I've been really focused on just different study this week and last week, and I've been fasting. I'm coming off of a 10-day fast where I did 7-day fruits, all raw fruits, and then I'm on the 3rd day of water, and I just broke my fast with a mango, or with liquid, excuse me, and I just broke my fast with the mango, and it was so delicious. And so I haven't done any research on this. I've been on different studies. Now, we see that Rodney Hinton, his son, was outside in a car, outside of a home, and was with 3 other individuals. There allegedly may have been a gun in that vehicle now, or with the other individuals. The son of Rodney Hinton, he did not have a gun, we think, allegedly. And we think that from the body cam footage, from reports we're hearing, the son, Eric, is that son's name?
Sorry, Ryan.
Ryan, excuse me. So Ryan was running away at the time when the cop shot him. That's, we think, what we're piecing together. That could be not exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the footage myself. We're asking other people to comment if you see something else. Mr. Hinton sees his son Ryan be killed by the police. And then in a rage, it seems like, he goes and kills indiscriminately another police officer, just maybe in the same uniform, or strikes him and kills him allegedly here. Now, this is unpacking so many different things, right? So many different things. First thing, just unpacking being 2 fathers. And then revenge, right? That's what that is. Revenge.
Revenge, or as this guy said,
Oh, what does he say? Because I didn't really read that.
he didn't lose control. He finally took some control back. So you could read that as revenge. But, being a father, having 3 children, I cannot imagine as a parent or as a grandparent something like this happening and having to deal with it. I don't know how I'd process it. I mean, I just don't.
Okay, here's a question. Do you think it'd be different in your mind if you saw the video and you thought that, damn it? Like, for example, if it was like your son, you're like, damn it, man. Why did you do that? Like, you threatened him. Or why did you, if you felt like it was justified?
Well, it would be
then
really
is it different.
I don't know. I mean, I think justified or unjustified.
Do you think you could discern?
I don't think I could. I don't think I could.
When it's your son.
I mean, I think if the body cam showed my son firing at the police, I think that would hit me differently.
Okay.
But
without
still
running towards the police.
But still my son being dead.
Sure.
I don't know how I'd process that.
Unarmed, it's tough.
Yeah.
If it is unarmed.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Me either.
I mean, I saw, somebody had one of the articles, why didn't they shoot him with a taser or something? I mean, I don't know the whole circumstances.
Sure.
I tried to piece things together for an hour.
Sure, we're piecing it together here. But emotionally, it's hard to know where you would be at emotionally, right?
Yeah.
Now, and I mean, 100%, I pray, and I've been praying more and better. And I pray that I never have to process through that.
Yeah.
Right. That I never have to process through that. Now what?
So with this research, then I started down a bit of a rabbit hole. And so then I got to thinking about, well, it's been in the news a lot the last, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years of police shootings.
Yeah.
And so, you always hear of, that the the black on black crime and white on white crime, but so I tried to look at the number of people shot to death by police on an annualized basis.
Yes.
And it's kind of interesting. From 2017, it was 981 people, and of that 981, 458 white, 222 black, 180 Hispanic, 44 others, and then I don't understand unknowns. I mean, I don't know what unknown ethnicity is, but there were 77.
77 of them, of the unknowns?
Unknowns in 17. And so...
They might have been transracial.
Who knows?
Like Rachel Dolezal.
I mean, I don't know what others are either. If I mean, I would think some of these are probably, natives. Some of them I would think would be, illegals within our country. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't understand that data.
Okay, but cool.
But so
not cool. But
so then, as I'm looking at this other data, and I jump up here to 2023, and I see that it's 499 white, 249 black, 164 Hispanic, and I'm looking at these numbers.
So really quick, those numbers. Could you do percentages for me again, Pops?
Well, I started to look at that, and I was actually going to build a spreadsheet and look at percentages of it. But then
I like spreadsheets.
But what drives me crazy about this data, is it doesn't tell me the demographics of where these happened. These are police shootings. Are these all in affluent neighborhoods? Are they all in ghettos? Are they at, malls? Or, I mean, you can't really tell. I mean, we do know that black people kill more black people and white people kill more white people.
Because of where they live at.
So these demographics to me is
But here's the
part of the story.
Okay, but the bottom line on this
and this is cops shooting people.
Sure. But the bottom line is this is a cumulative of all of America of cops shooting people. I understand there may be, of course, maybe there's more cops, maybe shoot more white people in poor areas. This may be true, and that's definitely something to look at if we could get some type of economic status for these people. But still, when it comes down to it, is we have these numbers that show the breakdown, and it was 1,100 shootings, was it, Pops? Yeah. 1,100 shootings. If almost 500 of them are white people, is that, what is it, 40-something%?
Yeah.
45%? Something like that. So peep this. If it's black folks, it was 249. What did you say that percentage was, Pops? 249 of 1,100. Not quite 25%. 20%?
Yep.
20%. Well, here's, I think, what in the news, one thing that, and not just the news, but I think one of the narratives that especially you hear from a lot of black voices. And I think one thing that I think that sometimes white folks that I've seen online on comments or even talked to, they say, I get so tired of hearing the narrative that, we're a racist country, or that cops are more racist, or cops kill more black people than white people. But when it comes to per capita, is that not true? If black people are 13.7% of the population,
they are.
Yeah, but they're 20% of the cop killings, then there's a little disparity there, right?
Yeah, and then you look at Hispanic and Latino, which is 19.5. Although this is kind of interesting.
Basically, they're
white alone percentage, and it has white alone
with
not Hispanic or Latino.
It's tough. That's a hard little thing they do.
Yes.
Now, another thing I want to also mention is that a lot of times, and here, is there a Yazidi? Is there an Arab American?
No.
Okay, because a lot of times when it's an Arab person or a Yazidi person, it gets pushed in white.
Yeah.
Okay, on the census as well.
Well, so this is white alone, non-Hispanic, Latino percent. Exactly. So this would be so it's 58% white.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, again,
60, 78. Yeah, so that makes sense. That they've lumped some of them together, because
sure,
when you break them out like that, it makes more sense.
Yeah. Now, but what I'm getting to here is that there is definitely an overrepresentation when it comes to the deaths compared to the per capita. Then, when you go county by county, and even you look at Lancaster County, for us, for example, the overrepresentation of police pullovers, police contacts, and citations is outrageous as well, compared to per capita and per the population and per different metrics that we have. I think that what bothers black people the most is maybe a stat we don't have. And that's, sure, maybe the 20% of killings compared to 13.7% doesn't tip the scales for you that says, oh man, that's so big of a discrepancy that it's an epidemic or it's really bad. But where it goes next is, I think, where the key is. How many of those police officers are held responsible for killing unarmed or for unjustly killing? How many of these policemen are just put on, of course, paid leave first, and then after a couple months, it's dismissed and they're back on the streets, or they're on another beat, or they get multiple complaints and they're in another precinct or another city's police department? And it seems like anecdotally, and any numbers I've seen, that it's very, very, very hard for police to be held accountable. Now, those numbers may be exactly the same, Pops, when it comes to police killing white people, right? Of how much they get held accountable, right? Say the cop may kill the white person, we still may give them all this immunity and all these things. But then there isn't the underlying pinning of the racial superiority complex and the way that racially the country has been structured and was facilitated for the history of the country.
Yeah.
So there's then those things where it's like, well, darn, we can't get a fair shake. And then when we're killed unjustly, no one's held responsible. And I think that's where the extra step comes in, is when is there some responsibility going to be held? And then so maybe that's what that guy's saying, is that when there's no power, you go through the law, you try to get the person in trouble, you try to get your recourse through the law, and it doesn't happen more times than not. So now it's taking your own power into your hands. And it's like, I guess if you're looking at the cops like an enemy now, because those people wearing that uniform have killed your kin, now anyone wearing that uniform is part of the enemy. Like if you're at war, right?
Yeah, so I was just looking here. So
and that's tough.
You look at percentages of the total population killed by cops. It's obviously a very low number when you look at 330 million people, and you got 1,100.
100%. It's low. It's low.
But you've got about 750,000 police, and 47 of them get killed every year. That's a higher percentage.
And again, though, we don't know how they got killed.
Well, this is
that true?
I'm looking at these 47 here. So investigative enforcement, drug-related matter, wanted person, traffic stop, 16, unprovoked attack, 8, ambush, 6, tactical situation, 5, assisting another law enforcement, 3. So of the 47...
What I'd like to say, though, really quick, though, for example, and I'm just saying this because I think it matters, because it could be 20 of these. For example, I knew a brother who was running away from the police. The police, out of shape, clumsy, stepped off a curb wrong, broke their ankle, twisted their thing, smashed down in their nose, and now he gets a felony assault because the clumsy cop running after him for jaywalking, literally for some bullcrap, running after him for nothing more than literally walking while black. Let's keep it real. But he gets hurt while doing that, and now he has a felony for hurting the cop. Just because he was running after him and he hurt himself running after this brother for no reason. The same way, I know a woman who, this was horrible. I know a woman who was driving with her daughter. The cop was on a high-speed chase, again on some bullshit. Shouldn't be in a high-speed chase. It wasn't to save anyone's life or to stop a murderer or a kidnapper, right? This is a thing where you could got the license plate number, you go give him a ticket later. But he's on a high-speed chase and runs and T-bones into her, killing her daughter. So the cop doesn't get in trouble. They run through everything they possibly can. And then, this is sad, she was like 2 blocks away from her house. And they run through everything they possibly can. and bring up some stuff, and like they do 3 or 4 different types of drug tests, blood tests, all these things, and then they make it so that the scientist said that she was like literally 0.01 or something over some type of limit, obviously a blood alcohol limit or something, right? To make it so now it's her fault, right? When, it was, all the witnesses, it was beyond, this guy ran a red light. He was running a red light.
But his siren was on and all that.
No, his siren wasn't on. No. It's crazy shit.
Yeah.
But we make it her fault, and all of a sudden she's a horrible mom, and and her daughter died because of her, right? Let's keep it real, right? I'm not saying go drink and drive. She wasn't drunk. I'm not saying go drink and drive, but don't act like you ain't drank a beer or take a sip of wine and drove.
Yeah.
Let's not. Let's keep it real. So what I'm saying is, how many of it is that crap? And then she gets another charge because he got injured in the darn thing. So there's that. I could see a lot of these people, this dude, people shooting themselves, friendly fire. Oh, we came in, we shot we shot the cop. Now we're going to charge you with it because we came into your place shooting and I accidentally shot my partner. There's all these type of craps where I've seen happen. So just saying, there may be some sticky things in there as well.
Statistically, I wouldn't want to be a cop in the Midwest or in the South, and I wouldn't want to be on duty in April or August.
Is that when it happens?
And I wouldn't want to work the 7 to 3 shift.
April's when the shit gets nice. April's when it gets nice.
Yeah.
August, it's popping. It's on and cracking. The cops I know, they say that they really like the winter.
Yeah, it's
shit
probably
just
slower.
slows down. It just slows down in the winter. Now don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm not over here saying that I want to be a cop. Like I said, I have best friends that are cops. But we have these conversations, and the thing that kills them is that there's a lack of accountability nationwide with how precincts run things. And that's what really, I think, creates the distrust. It creates the us versus them.
Well,
right?
it's a different, geographically, there's just so many different things that different cops deal with in different communities. Small town, rural USA, sure. Way different than class 1 cities.
There definitely is. Now, here's what's crazy is I know a lot of cops, and the only cop that I've known that actually killed somebody was on duty while they were in rural Nebraska. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Not in the city, not in the Omaha, the only cop I know, and I know plenty, and I'm friends with, more than one, really close friends with, and the only one I know that's killed somebody on duty in rural Nebraska, like a town of like 4,000 or something.
And I know.
That's wild, right?
I know a whole bunch of cops that have never discharged their firearm when they're working.
That's great. That's great.
This is kind of interesting. The demographics of cops killed: 42 of them white, 5 black, 46 male, 1 female.
Was that the lady at the?
I'm assuming
January 6th.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No, not January 6th. I think that's that lady in Texas.
Oh no. Was it ambush?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that. So, okay, so here's the thing though. So like I was saying, I wanted to just say that. So I sent that, and because I wanted to talk about it. And my morals and the way that I'm even now, I'm reading more scripture every day. There's no excuse for indiscriminate killing. And I don't want to, and here's what I want to say though. And I think this was put perfectly in the movie. Oh, I would forget the name of it. It's a Nate Parker movie. Nate Parker is a brilliant actor, filmmaker, director, writer. He did the new Birth of a Nation, the new Birth of a Nation, not the old silent film Birth of a Nation, but he did the new Birth of a Nation. And then, gosh, this one was. But anyway, the thing is, the cops kill his son unjustly. He goes and he basically holds hostage a whole cop station, and he kind of runs through judge and jury right there, right, and flips the script or whatnot. But anyways, there's this part in the movie where he says, how come we're the only ones? When he's saying we're, he's saying black people, black America in particular. He says, how come we're the only one that has to be reserved? How come when people do our people wrong or us wrong, we have to be nice and calm and quiet and can't lash out? He's like, I was in the military. I know the example that America sets, and I know the example that the powers that be in America sets. When someone does something to us, what do? Do we turn the other cheek? We go and we bomb, we have war, we guerrilla style it, we ambush, we do whatever's needed to be done to get our vengeance. Now, in the history of America, right, if we were to kill, when I'm saying we as a person, a citizen, is to kill someone in the government or the mayor's someone, or just regular, if a regular citizen gets killed, especially in white America, you get the death penalty. They go and there's a mob that hangs you. There's for doing something unjustly and wrong. Example and time again have been that you get vengeance. And it's Leviticus, right? It's eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. What the neighbor, if you put neighbor or injury upon a neighbor, then you'll get that same injury, right? And that's what it's been. And so he says, why, when it comes to us, we have to just be like, oh, darn it, let's not push back. We don't get to go to war, but everyone else, an example, gets to or does. So there is that point being made.
Every country does.
Everyone does. That's kind of like the rule. But now here's where the new teaching comes in, right? Where that's where the gospel is supposed to overrule the old law, right?
New Testament versus Old
Right.
Testament.
So Matthew's supposed to say, hey, like 5:28, I think Matthew, he says what? Like if someone does the harm to you, this is paraphrasing. Someone does the harm to you, you don't disdain the enemy or the evil. Someone slaps you in the cheek, basically, you turn the other one.
Turn the other cheek.
Right? Someone hits you on the right, you turn the other cheek.
Who Matthew was a tax collecting thief just prior to converting.
Hey, I tell you what, the ministers, people say, hey, to the Nation of Islam, they say, hey, why do you go out to the prisons and to the streets? He says, because our best followers are in the streets. And he says, that's not my words, that's Jesus's words. Or if you're in the Quran, Isa, which is Jesus in the Quran. So he said, it's Jesus. The best followers are on the streets because that's who he's taken to be the apostles. Now, and eventual teachers, right?
Well, it's the same thing the Catholics did.
You go to the streets and find it, right? I think any good people that are trying to get about God, they don't just go to the best of the best people that they see. They're trying to bring people out of evil and bring them to God, right?
You're trying to evangelize all.
Bam. Bring them
regardless
all
regardless
to the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
Bring them all.
Everybody wants
Bring
to get
them
the pearly gates.
Find it in yourself, my brothers and sisters. But so if we're saying the new law, and we're saying turn the other cheek, right? How do you do that?
Yeah, it's that's why I said, back to talking about Mr. Hinton. I mean, I don't know how I would react to that.
Now, I know I wouldn't. I'm not saying I know, excuse me. I think that I wouldn't go and indiscriminately kill another, right? I'm not saying that I would. I'm not here saying anything about killing, saying that I'm justifying killing, right? I think I would understand the story a little more if Mr. Hinton killed the exact officer, right? Then I could understand even more. But when it takes it to the edge of and I know people are going to say, well, hey, look, this is the enemy. This is the other soldier. Your soldier don't look for just the person who killed your partner. You're going to kill any soldier that is in that uniform, right? But still, I can't justify that. I'm not here to justify that. But I just want to have the further of that conversation of how much of the turning the other cheek do you do?
It's a
according to Jesus, you continue.
Yeah, you continue on and you forgive. Forgiveness is a huge part. Forgiveness is something that I think all humans, that's one of our biggest flaws is not being able to forgive. Mm-hmm. Again, we can't compare ourselves to Jesus. He's been the only perfect, non-sinning person to walk the earth.
And I know there's different teachings. See, there's different teachings because there's
Yep.
lots of books. But that being said, we can work to walk like him.
Yeah.
We can work to walk like him. But you're gonna be able to. But I think. Well, in my case, I know I'm gonna have to ask for forgiveness again.
Oh,
I know it.
I
know it.
try to go to church every morning.
Mm-hmm.
I thank him and ask him for his help and ask him for forgiveness for myself, my family, and for multiple other people who may be suffering from illnesses, mental or physical, every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think to myself as I'm sitting there kind of reflecting, wow, man, he's got to be tired of hearing the same stuff from me every day. But
he's so happy that you came to him again.
Well,
that's what I was just reading.
pokes me.
God is happy when you come back to ask. Because without it, you can't do it.
He pokes me about in between 4:30 and 5 in the morning to get up and get my shit together and get to church. It's been one of the best things I've done for me.
Yeah.
In retirement and with COVID and all that, it's been one of the best things I've done for me.
Yes.
I think it's
Yes.
made me a more tolerant man, and I think it's made me a better man. But I don't have any illusion that I can be that perfect man because I have sinned, and sinning is just something that we as humans do. My road rage is much better. I mean, there's lots of things that are better.
Yeah.
And some of that's probably by going to church and also just getting older.
Yeah. Hey, but that's why you keep coming back. That's why we keep coming back. And I'm on a journey to keep coming back to find more within myself right now. It's what more am I going to find in myself that I can give to God? Because that's the thing is I've been focused for years on finding things in myself or for my family, and forgetting to find what's in yourself to give to God, to give for the glory of God, to give for how you think your righteousness should be.
And if you can give for yourself, for your family, all in a godly way, that's walking the journey.
There it is.
That's walking the journey.
There it is. Because we should do it all. It's a holistic thing, right? You have to be financially fit. I was listening to one of the brothers who was just saying the teacher's words of you need to be financially fit, while you're being spiritually fit and mindful, because it is hard to be in poverty and then to be in the right mind of non-stress, to be able to worship correctly, to be able to worship without a sense of what I would say almost, I don't want to say urgency, well, urgency it is, but also despair, right? A sense of always being in despair instead of being on a higher thinking plane. But it's really hard to do that when you're thinking about bills every single month. It's really hard to do that when the weight of the world is on you financially. And so yes, 100%. I think that it's very important for people to continue to be successful financially while doing that in a righteous way is the big thing.
And
through business, you can be righteous.
Absolutely. I mean, you can do the right thing every day and still be successful.
Bam. Bam. Yes.
Doing the wrong thing every day and expecting success is lying to yourself. That's my thoughts.
And then I think it leads right into blaming other folks.
Well, it does. And it's, from a leadership perspective, which, I was part of being in business leadership for a good number of years in my career, and always had bosses, always had a president or board and I always said the same thing. If things are going really good, my team's doing a great job. God bless them.
Yeah.
If something goes really bad, that's my fault because I did a really poor job of leadership for that to happen.
Sure.
So,
well, I remember a lesson you taught me when I was around you one time, and I think I was talking about some trouble I was having with the team that I was leading, and I was basically just blaming folks, saying, oh, this guy sucks because this, and he's not taking care of his thing for this. I'm going to have to fire this dude. I'm about to fire this guy. I'm about to fire him. Cut. He's out of here. Get him out. How did Trump used to say it? He just gave him a "you're fired."
Yeah.
He just kind of pointed at him, "You're fired."
You're
I almost
fired.
gave him one of those "you're fired."
The Apprentice.
But literally, and I remember you looked at me and you said, well, you know what, Ish? And you didn't tell me like you were trying to scold me in it, right? But you just told me in the story way, which most people learn the best, in a story, in some type of allegorical fashion. You said, well, when I, was leading a big team at Linweld, and things weren't going well with an employee, before I would go to my superior to fire him, Mr. Breslow, to tell somebody I need to fire somebody, I would always just look and say, hey, what am I doing wrong not leading him correctly?
The man in the mirror.
Why is this person obviously not getting what I need them to do? How am I doing it? Am I doing something wrong first? I'm the coach. How come my team isn't performing? I'm calling plays. I'm the coordinator. All that. Maybe the GM too. Now what the hell? And I had to sit back and think about that just in a coaching standpoint. Like, damn, if I bring a bad product to the court here, something went wrong in practice. Something went wrong in the van right over here.
Planning.
Something went wrong. Now, again, you said, hey, but I sometimes look back, and if I look at it and I've given them the right instructions and gave them the right leeway and gave them the right leadership and everything, and there is some times where people are just messing up, and it is time to let them go. Just like there's sometimes you have to kick a kid off the team. You got to let a kid off the squad. But I had to look at myself, and I realized that I just wasn't leading correctly. I wasn't leading clear enough. And I was assuming things like an ass instead of making sure that I was thorough through things.
Less words are important because then those words will have more impact. They have less to remember. Has always been my thought process. Because if not, you can give people death by PowerPoint.
Sure.
Or death by you talking. And instead of having few words, strive a conversation. If you can get every idea to become their idea,
yes,
now you're doing a great job leading.
Now they got that ownership. They're there. They're the shit. I'm doing this for me now because my great idea. And think, no, you're brilliant.
Yeah, I mean that's what it takes.
Brilliant.
And that wasn't like I didn't learn that like when I was a teenager leading somebody to detassel corn.
But you can learn it now.
Yeah,
but you can learn it now from listening to the man.
Well,
learn
it
now.
It's important. I I always just got to that. What's the man in the mirror doing wrong?
Sure. No, that's huge. I hope that more people see the man in the mirror. Look, before we wrap this up, I want to get into a little something more lighthearted because we got into some very serious topics, and I love it. I love when we get into those good ones. But I want to lighten it up a little bit, just a little bit. So this year, it was the least amount of young men that declared for the NBA draft in 20 years.
Yeah.
100, and I think 53 or 123 compared to just 4 years ago. It was like 330 something or 340 something, maybe 350 something.
They're making more than they can make in the G League.
120.
They're making more. They're making more in college than they can make in the G League.
So here's really quick. I heard it a lot. I still hear it. That NIL, people being able to get a little bit of their worth, is going to ruin college sports. But now you got kids that are talented as heck staying in college, staying in school longer, making the college game better.
Well, and I hope that while they're there and they're on scholarship, that they're learning enough to know that they've got something to fall back on if they can't make it playing basketball.
Well, 100%. Well, not only now that they have this cushion, and I hope they're learning how to invest it, but now they're also going to have some type of degree which they don't have to be in debt for.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. God is great if that happens for them. Now, put it like this. Not only are they getting what they're worth right away, but then they have the options, and they don't have to rush into they don't have to try to rush into the league, right? If I need to take care of moms or my sister and I need to help out like that, I can, and I don't have to decide if I want to leave college and go. I can stay being a kid in college, make this money.
Well, and learn about finances and learn about business and learn about paying taxes. And I mean,
how cool is that?
I
Is
think
it best of both worlds right now?
Well, I think right now the big bonus is because these colleges are really trying to teach them about all of those things.
Is it not a part of every curriculum now that if you have these programs, don't you have to have like a financial
I don't think there's any absolute that they make them do it.
Everybody's doing it because they don't want to be
Most people are doing
odd
it.
man out or
well,
whatever.
they don't want to be the odd man out. I really believe the one thing that NIL has done, it has created coaches and programs wanting to do all the right things for them to stay on the team. Instead of before, it was all about, well, this guy's going to be a one and done, so I'm not going to invest everything into him.
Sure.
Because he's just going to do his own thing and he's going to leave anyway.
Sure.
Well, now you've got some reasons to invest. The only thing I don't like about NIL is I don't like that you can change schools every year and that there's no commitment either way. School's committed, hey, I'm going to give you a 4-year scholarship. This will be your NIL deal. Well, another school calls because you have a great year and they're going to give you another $1 million and you can just leave. No other.
But right now they're doing 1-year deals. That's the problem.
Yeah, because nobody's pushing.
That's the problem.
Nobody's put a deal out there of, okay, so you're a rookie, so you got to sign a 3-year deal with this team.
But I think it's more of this too, right? Is that the team doesn't want to be locked down either, I think. It's like, damn, he's not who we thought he was, which happens a lot.
Potentially.
He's not who we thought he was. Shit, I can go to the portal and grab a guy for $2 million that I know is great.
So, and what it's really hurting.
But now he's already on my books for $4 million.
You know who it's hurting? It's hurting those high school kids getting recruited because there's some schools that aren't going to recruit high school kids unless they're the top of the top.
No, they're not. No, there's a lot less spots because of the transfer portal. 100% there's a lot less spots. I think most teams are saying they're doing about half of the recruiting.
Of high school kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I think it helps and what it really helps, I think JUCOs and D2s, D3s, it hugely helps them because all the D1 schools are hopping in like, hey, who's shining in D2 in the transfer portal? I can bring him in now.
Like I said, it hurts the high school kids coming in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so I think it's going to run that curve of we're going to see some digression in that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We will see. You know what's really cool to me is like, for example.
And I worry about some kids that just aren't going to go to college because they're not going to get that opportunity.
The NIL with these kids from D2, D3, the JUCO, I think that the popularity of sports and where it's going and how it's going, and especially sports betting, it's going to continue to even make those bigger now and those more. So I think what's going to happen is going to be less kids going to Nebraska and sitting on the bench for 4 years and never touching the field, rather than instead he goes to Doane or he goes to I don't want to say Westland because that's not the place where you get scholarships, but Kearney or something like that where you can get a scholarship and you play, but you're going to be playing actually, you know?
Yeah, potentially.
Now the other thing is, example,
but the other thing is, I mean, you know, you're also going to it's not finalized yet, but down to a 105-man roster instead of 150 kids.
It's a lot of different too. I mean, that's different too. Again, I think it's just going to open it up for those D2 and D3. Now, then the culture of those schools, they get more ticket sales, they have more talent, the game's better and more exciting, faster and all that. And then more TV deals come because what happens is you got a guy like me that's betting on Kearney now because the line is open. I want to watch it on TV. Now there's a market for that. And with all the streaming things that can happen. Now, right now, you've seen the UFL. It's UFL, not US. Yeah, so the UFL, they got the Fox and the ESPN deal now, and they're on Saturdays and Sundays nationally on TV, and people are watching it. Why? Because it's on your sports bets. People are betting on it. They getting their fix as NFL isn't happening or NCAA. They're getting their fix betting UFL, so they want to watch it. And I could see that happening to.
But is that
D2.
adding to our credit card massive debt that we have as consumers?
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that, you know, because there's so many gamblers that, of course, can't do it right or can't do it responsibly, just like drinkers or smokers or anything that is a real ill or kind of the syntax, right? Right? Any of those syntax things, some people can do it within limits and some people can't. But again, I could see that helping to fuel that market of the D2, D3, JUCO.
It's going to be interesting. Like I said, my fear is we're going to have less kids attending the schools that they should be attending for the academic reasons because football is that important. I mean, and there's a lot of kids that go to junior colleges and D2s, or D3s that really are going there because they're still living kind of their high school athletic
dream
scenario. And then they end up transferring to a school where they're really going to get their education that they wanted because they wanted to be an engineer, but this track school doesn't have engineering.
Sure, but here's another thing I see, right, is I see kids that aren't great. They want to play football, but they're not amazing to where they can go play for Nebraska. They go to Nebraska Westland and they get a better education. Well, I'm not going to say that, right? Because
they get an education.
But what I'm saying is statistically wise or national credit wise and all that, they say Westland, that private university is a better education than University of Nebraska, or it's a more respected degree in some circles or whatever.
Well, in some things.
There's a lot of examples of that where I think, somebody would say, hey, look, Kearney has a way better program at this or whatever. So I think it definitely could go both ways on it.
It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
But I think that it will open up more scholarships. The more NIL, the more. Now, for example, at Kearney, right? You got a big car dealership in Kearney. Why not the quarterback now is doing the commercial at the Kearney car dealership for the local thing and getting a little bit of scratch? Those things open up now, I feel like.
Potentially.
I think those could really open up. Now, Kearney's different because it's still Huskers run supreme. But imagine a team in Tyler, Texas, right? You got a HBCU in Tyler, Texas now. And now because of all this, there's so many different, or 50 kids now can't go and sign at Texas University. So now you got 3 of those awesome studs going to Tyler, Texas. Just opens up the market.
Yeah, it can help or it can hurt. I think it'll hurt football. I think it'll help basketball.
Basketball, it's just easier to run a team.
Numbers.
Yeah,
it's a numbers
so much
game.
easier to run a team off basketball. Basketball is huge. I mean, there's so many teams, and the level of the play is so amazing now.
Yep,
it's just outstanding.
And it's just going to be interesting. One thing we do know, it's going to be much different, I think, 2 years from now than what it is right now. At some point, I think the federal government's going to have to step in and say, okay, these are the rules you guys got to follow. Kind of like, NFL, when they got collective bargaining of that. Here's the rules you got to follow. Mm-hmm. Right now it's the wild, wild west.
It is.
I mean, you're not supposed to be able to recruit from somebody that's already at a team, but we know it's happening.
Oh yeah. Now, last thing I want to say about this is, how tough would it be to be a guy in the 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s that was killing it, in the 80s, anything that was killing it. And now you see these kids getting paid. Like, I know you're not mad they're getting paid, but you're like, goodness gracious, where was that when I was there?
Well,
and then about the guys that got in trouble for it.
Well, look at coaching. Tom Osborne, what he was making versus what we're paying coaches today.
Yes, but Tom was denying pay raises too.
He was.
Like, Tom could have been paid way better, but he was denying pay raises.
Well, and he was taking money and making sure his assistants were getting paid better.
He was just denying. Like, he could have been easily the highest paid coach in the nation, but he was denying that crap. But I know what you mean. It is a big jump.
Oh, it's huge.
These guys are getting a huge amount of money. Huge. But then again, I was looking back where I saw, goodness gracious, Newt Rockney. I think Newt Rockney was the first person to get, basically it was like unheard of. He got, in those days, what's equivalent today of $1 million for a coaching contract for Notre Dame. And I was like, wow. Like, he kind of started that thing where it's like, hold on, I'm that guy. And he signed like a crazy contract that was today worth, and like today's money would have been like $1 million for like a year to coach. I was like, that's crazy. Bobby Bowden?
Bobby Bowden was the first.
The first million like in our, like, actually $1 million. Actually $1 million. Yeah. But $1 million in Bobby Bowden, I mean, that's crazy. Consider he got $1 million a year. That was his contract, was $1 million.
I think it was $1 million a year.
Okay, so $1 million salary.
$1 million salary.
Okay, really quick. In 95, think about this.
Yep.
In 95. Today, Coach Prime got a 5-year deal, I think, extension, 5-year extension for $54 million. So it's like almost 10 a year, a little over 10 a year for how it cracks out in the end. It's much more, sometimes. Is that true?
I don't know.
I thought it's 54 for Coach Prime's new. I think the highest paid, I don't know. You're about to tell
Kirby
us.
Smart, $13.2 million annually.
Okay, so Kirby Smart gets $13.2 million annually. What did Prime just get?
Just gonna look here and pull this.
Yeah, pull it up. That's awesome.
Kirby Smart 13.
Dabo.
Riley.
Hold on, really quick. Dabo is number 2 highest paid coach in America. How much does he make per year?
11-1.
Really quick, 11-1, and that punk, I'm call it like it is, and that punk is still complaining about kids getting NIL. That punk is totally against it. Still doesn't want any kid to get paid, but he can make $11.1 million a year.
The top 7 are $10 million plus.
Really quick, that is the epitome of hypocrisy. That's one of the reasons why I really abhor Clemson football because of Dabo Swinney, because of that type of crap. Like that type of crap just really gets under my skin. Really gets under my skin for you to be against young men who you're making money off their backs.
Dion 5'7".
You don't want them to have money. 5.7 per year?
Yep.
For Coach Prime?
6'5" rules at 30.
So he must have signed a 10-year extension, excuse me. That's worth like about $54 million over 10 years.
Yeah.
So he's getting 6'5". Coach Prime's getting 6'5".
No, 5'7".
5'7". Okay, Coach Prime's getting 5'7", putting the most butts in the seats, putting the most meats in the seats, and on TV.
Oh, I don't know if he's putting the most.
Per
Colorado doesn't have that big a stadium.
Yeah, when you go and you travel, when Colorado travels, right? Every stadium they went to, it was that team's biggest attendance.
Except Nebraska.
No, it was Nebraska's biggest attendance of that year was when Colorado came.
Really?
Yeah, it was the biggest game of the year. Every single place they traveled to, it was that stadium's biggest game of the year. I'm saying that doesn't happen when Alabama goes to play Marshall.
No.
You know what I mean? But
that's why Nebraska is sold out for so long.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, but I'm saying when Alabama goes to Marshall. You know what I mean? If Nebraska goes to Marshall, it's still not happening like that. When Colorado goes somewhere, it's happening like that. That's wild. That team could be 2-6. Colorado goes to face them, and they're selling out the darn stadium, basically. Now, when it comes to the biggest nights on TV, Colorado was every night, every time they're on prime time, consistently killing every slot they have, whether it's prime time, the late game, whatever it is, they were killing it. So TV-wise, too, because they're just the biggest entertainment. I'm not saying the best team. No, not the best team. But they were big entertainment. And that's what it is. You're right. It's an entertainment industry. Completely entertainment industry.
Highest attended college football game, Battle of Bristol 2016. Tennessee and Virginia Tech.
Where was that held?
I would assume
156,900
Tech
fans.
and Bristol Motor, yeah.
Bristol Motor Stadium?
Yeah, they did
it at like a motor stadium?
At the NASCAR stadium.
That's a hack right there. That's huge. That's pretty sweet. 156,000.
Well, that's like 90,000 showing up for
the volleyball game?
Yeah.
Okay, they tried to copy that. Iowa went and did the outdoor basketball game for Kate. Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
They did an outdoor basketball game and got the highest ever women's basketball game thing like that too. That's pretty cool.
Well, Nebraska was the highest women's sports attendee ever. They took out a World Cup. They took out a World Cup soccer.
That's unbelievable.
That's crazy.
It's unbelievable because soccer is the biggest sport in the world.
And the crazy part about it is they were all Nebraska teams.
Yeah, because Nebraska, Kearney, and Nebraska, was it Wayne State?
UNO, no, Creighton, Nebraska, Kearney, and UNO.
It was Kearney, UNO. Okay.
Played.
Okay, Kearney.
Those were the 4 games, or the 4 teams, 2 games.
Did they let Wayne State do a little practice or something there?
Yeah.
I thought Wayne State was there.
Yeah.
They're just messing around or
so
helped them out.
There was one year in there where, and I think maybe it was the last time Nebraska won an NCAA. Nebraska won D1, Kearney won D2, Wayne State won D3 and Shadron won NAIA.
Wow.
Something like that. It was all 4 of the national
Wow.
championship, top 4 levels, NCAA volleyball
Nebraska
were all won in Nebraska.
is volleyball.
I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Nebraska is volleyball.
Thanks to Terry Pettit and John Cook.
John Cook, boy, bringing it in. He's
It's going
done.
to be interesting
He's
this
done.
next year. We got a new girl. I mean, I think Danny's going to do awesome. I'm so excited to go to games.
It's going to be cool. Hopefully I get a line on them, put some on put some on them right at the start. Hey, that's been fun.
Hey, and as wrap up here, I want to just say I hope all the mothers had a great Mother's Day.
Yes.
My mom's no longer with us on Earth, but I just hope all the mothers had great Mother's Day. I think it's really an awesome day to celebrate mothers. I think it means a lot more than Father's Day, quite frankly. But that's just me because
Don't nobody care about daddies.
yeah, well, moms just are the glue. I mean, they really are. So love you, moms, and thank you for being great moms.
Most definitely. Well, we call it Mother Earth for a reason.
That's exactly right.
For a reason.
Peace out, everybody. This is episode 14, and we'll be back soon. Take care. Love
Bang,
you all.
bang.
Bye.
No agenda, no bull crap, just real conversations. Thank you for joining us for the Middle of the Street podcast.